afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another... my apologies there. Another Propagandacast. Lehr with me, your host, Imperial Dane, off here to a episode looking at the 250 Halftrack, more specifically tactics you can employ with it. There's been a few requests about... I have talked a bit, I think, about the groups before, but, you know, this is more sort of specific tactics about how to get to utilize it. And, you know, one thing to remember is, you know, for starters, it has absolutely no guns. So you're pretty much dependent on the crew itself to get any damage. And, of course, as Germans, you pretty much, you know, got either the mechanized assault group or the mechanized grenadier group. With the assault group, of course, it's sort of much closer quarters. Of course, in that regard, there's something you have to be mindful of there. One, of course, is, you know, you have to get usually within range where you can easily have it disabled to get any damage done, which is also essentially the bigger weakness of the 250 Halftrack. Which, of course, is a bit the tricky part. But at the same time, you have to get close in that regard. When it comes to these engagements, it's pretty much the rule is, you know, as you might have noticed here, the opposite of what is, you know, you want to strike a unit who's sort of more operating on the far outskirts of things. You know, you don't want to sort of, you know, alright, Kameraden, I think we're seeing like 3 squads, let's charge straight into them. No, you want to be hitting units more out on their own. For example, you know, this unit, in theory, it would have been a much better target since it's much more isolated. There can't be any troops sort of rushing in to aid it. That way you can sort of more quickly get in and over them. And in this regard, when it comes to the Panzer Grenadiers, you want to get close to that way, get the most damage out of it, and thus also have a higher chance of wiping units. Of course, they're then sort of different priority target units you sort of want to be able to hit. I mean, counter is of course something you sort of want to do less, but for example, engineers are really good targets, in which case you sort of try to keep up the hunt for as long as possible and wipe them out. Shock troopers also work. I mean, generally anything that can't disable the engine right away or do serious damage, like say guards with anti-tank rifles, are generally sort of valid targets to consider. So there's a little thing there to keep in mind for you, dear viewers. And sort of skipping a bit ahead, but there's another sort of common sort of combo for this. I mean, in general, of course, one trick with the 250 Halftrack is, in general, you can sort of use it to customize any kind of sort of quick strike force. Again, Panzer Grenadiers, Grenadiers with light machine guns, and of course another one, of course, is, well, Pioneers with a flamethrower. In that regard, it has a few sort of benefits. Of course, the flamethrower is quite handy in several regards. I'm not sure how effective it is on run, but overall, it's a sort of quite effective weapon. Ignores efficiency, all that. Generally can very quickly turn a lot of units, you know, to nothing. So in that regard, it's pretty potent. It's pretty potent. Of course, in that regard, you can also get a sort of more ersatz flamethrower Halftrack, no matter the tier. In that regard, of course, the Halftrack itself get blown up. You still got the Pioneers, but there's also another little advantage to it, which of course is, you know, compared to, say, you know, the one with Panzer Grenadiers in it, you know, you get a damaged engine, you know, you have to pull it all the way back to get for some Pioneers to get there. Here, alright, you already have the Pioneers to repair it, which is also why it's the reasonably common sort of combination here to see, you know, players at some point pop out the Panzer Grenadiers, all the Grenadiers that they went for mechanized, and basically go, well, you know, Pioneers with a flamethrower allows it to repair it as well in case of engine damage. In that regard, it is pretty handy, it is pretty neat, and again, you can sort of customize it. Say you can, well, customize the content, I suppose, again, so you want something anti-tank. Panzer Grenadiers with Panzerschrecks works well as well. So there's several options there to consider with the 250 Halftrack when you use it and utilize it on the battlefield. Again, you know, trick usually then of course is strike at far away targets and otherwise prioritizing if possible to units that can't really defend themselves with an anti-tank grenade. And if you do have to, again, you know, very much ensure they are on their own. If you can do that, you'll generally ensure that your 250 Halftrack possesses a certain amount of survivability in combat without, you know, getting completely wasted or wrecked. It's very much a sort of light, rapid strike vehicle for attacking on flanks, dealing with harassers, harassing in response because, of course, remember, your troops can take points while in the Halftrack, so it's also quite handy in that department. And again, depending on what you want done, you can pop different types of infantry with different upgrades or captured weapons into it. And again, all for different purposes. I mean, again, Flamethrower Pioneers give you quite a bit of potency, but also repair capabilities. Panzer Grenadiers also give you quite a bit of firepower. Of course, you can also use them, you know, as you pop them right off. There's nothing wrong in that as well. Nothing wrong. Grenadiers with light machine guns also work quite handsomely. Again, you can have a weapon, say, you know, some American bazookas or some DPs or whatever, you know, you can also do something fun with that. And certainly I've seen some players also say, you know, Pioneers with a flamethrower, grab an enemy flamethrower and then sort of combine it into a dual flamethrower, in which case it really becomes quite unpleasant. But in this case, again, we see sort of a shift once more. Again, sort of depending on what you want done with it. So in that regard, you know, the 250 can sort of allow you sort of to do different things. Again, the key here is basically swift mobility and shielding the infantry. If possible, again, you know, strike at units. And when you can, get close, because again, the farther away, of course, the less damage. Of course, there's one thing to remember: units side do get a bit of a penalty there to sort of accuracy. So in that regard, you know, you want to get as close as possible if possible. In that regard, of course, the shock troops are forced to retreat. They do take a bit of damage, of course, as the body harm in this case, but still, overall, we to keep pace. And you had the unit been in a worse condition before that, he might even be able to wipe it. So in that regard, you know, not too poorly done there. Had that been normally, he probably wouldn't be able to do as much damage to the shock troops. They just run away. So in that regard, the 250 half-track also works quite nicely in basically pursuing retreating units and trying to sort of get a good wipe on them. So there's a lot of things there to keep in mind when utilising the 250 half-track in battle. Sort of again, keep in mind what your objectives and goals are throughout the engagement, and sort of pop in different units as feel unnecessary. Deal with it. But again, sort of primary area of operations is generally on the outskirts of the battle, hunting down lone units, dealing with them, dealing with harassers. Or if necessary, for example, also, you know, quickly sneaking in a flank assault there. For example, you know, you got an enemy defensive position up, some guns there, all pointed towards here, then you sneak in the 250 for a quick flank, causing confusion, havoc. Then the main assault comes in, your 250 either, you know, continues to do what it does or it pulls away. I mean, there are a few options there to consider with the 250 half-track throughout battle, and so of course get the most out of it. Generally, you know, you want to get something, and just calling and then wasting it is still generally quite a waste of resources and quite a waste of potential, if anything. So try and keep that in mind, and I suspect you'll find yourself getting a lot of damage out of it. You're causing your opponent quite a bit of grief, harm, sadness, and of course you'll find yourself quite a bit happier with your opponent's, well, harm, grief, sadness, all that. So if you can do that, I imagine you'll find yourself performing much better in battle, of course, again, you know. But again, remember, don't just charge it into the thick of battle. That won't work. That'll very quickly get it into a bad position. Strike if possible at unguarded units, so again, particularly stay away from guards infantry. They can probably deal with it. Again, you know, heavy anti-tank infantry, stay away, but otherwise, strike. If possible, keep some pioneers handy to repair, or if you've got pioneers, of course, in it, that's even better. If you can do that, you should generally do well. So hopefully that should cover all people's sort of questions and desires on the 250 half-track, and I hope people will get some more usage out of this tiny little vehicle of Teutonic death in their future battles and get more enjoyment out of it, and of course ruin the day for their opponent. So thank you all for watching. I hope you learned something. If you did, you know, feel free to subscribe, tell your friends, share it. Hang on, share it with everyone. If not, you know, well, I'm quite sorry. Or, you know, feel free to suggest topics. I will try to look into them. Anyways, thank you all, and see you another time. Bye.